check.
1, 2. This is the Chu Down Show with Chuy Gomez. Chuy Gomez.
Let's get started, shall we?
Yeah.
See, a lot of folks don't know we were separated at birth,
We're still connected by shoestrings.
but we're here. Miguel Escobedo, Mr. E. How do you go from being a DJ to making tacos and burritos and doing that thing? Because it's a completely different lifestyle, bro.
It is, but it isn't. Because the goal for me, like my happiness has been like serving the people or providing joy for the people. And DJing and cooking for people brings me the same joy. So if I'm rocking a dance floor and cooking for a food restaurant, people say, "Oh man, what was that song? That was such a dope mix. That was awesome. I had such a good time." Or, "Oh man, what was that sauce? What was in there? That was so delicious. I had such a good time."
But the big difference, though, is that when somebody says, what was that song? You tell them. When they come in and go, what's in that sauce? You don't tell them.
That's true, but I'm so happy. I charge them. But I've been DJing forever. you
Right.
know. I've never, it was, it was pretty full on since the late 80s. But also my family's been in the restaurant business forever.
So that was my next question. So did you grow cooking, or you just grew up in the restaurants and then decided to start cooking? Because there's a big difference, because as somebody who has family, who has restaurants and has cousins that grew up cooking and prepping and doing that sort of stuff, did you do a lot of that stuff?
I helped my mom a lot and my dad. But my dad likes to cook. He's a great cook. If I could credit a lot of my creativity, it's from my dad. Salsas, all of that. But my mom, I would love to help her cook. So I spent a lot of time in the kitchen with my mom.
But not at your cousin's restaurants.
Not until, like, my first job was at Celia's in San Rafael.
It was.
I was a busboy, pretty much a busboy. And then not till like the late 90s that I started getting into the cooking aspects of it. But I was already really into food and stuff. It's always been a part of my family. So I've always loved the service industry for the interaction that I had with people. Even as a busboy, like I could, if there was a family of 4 and I'm a busboy, it gives you like a green light to be like, "Hey, how are you guys? Where do you guys live?" All these questions that if you ask them on the street,
You're a
call the
weirdo.
cops.
You're a weirdo. Get away from me, sir.
And I love that. I love that the restaurant industry and the DJ industry allows you to connect closer to people.
And being closer to people, you and your brother had a restaurant together early on as well.
Yes.
Did that inspire you to want to go solo and do your own thing after working with your brother for a while?
It definitely did. Papalote was amazing for me because it was the first time that I was allowed to fully express myself in the kitchen, and fully create a menu that in my mind felt it was time to have, which was Mexican food. We opened in the Mission. And it's like, who opens a burrito shop in the Mission where it's the mecca of burritos? But I also felt like a lot of the places were doing the same thing, just in their own little different way, but kind of the same menu. So I'm like, not knocking it. I love it. I still love it. One of my favorite burritos is from Palolito. But I wanted to make something a little more different, a little more contemporary, a little more health conscious, still using fresh Mexican ingredients. So Papalote allowed me to do that with the menu and the salsa. My brother still has Papalote. It's still, in the Mission and the Panhandle. But at one point, I kind of wanted to do my own things. And so I'm like, I took that chance along with my wanting to see true al pastor in San Francisco. Nobody did it from the trompo.
Right, but you also not just wanted to do al pastor because you were a fan. You went back to Mexico City to learn how to do the sazon and how to cook it and how to put the trompo together and everything. So you took it upon yourself to really learn the craft from where it came.
I can't, there's no future in your front. So I had to really, I pushed myself to really learn the true way of doing al pastor. I took 2 trips to Mexico. One was to the Instituto de Gastronomía in Mexico City. And there I took like a 1-day intensive on al pastor. And that was the most beautiful trip because it was people were so passionate about food, and there was people from all over the world there to learn this. But the chef, he was sick. He was like, listen, here's the recipe. Here's how to make it and why. So I learned a lot about the history too. But he's like, if you don't have all these ingredients exactly as you've been taught, don't call it al pastor, don't even call it Mexican food. Like, I was like, okay, doc. Luckily in San Francisco, we have all those ingredients. So I'm able to provide real Mexico City al pastor. The second trip, I have some friends in Mexico City that know taqueros, and they let me shadow a taquero for a couple of days.
Nice.
So like in the morning, como lo hacen el trompo, everything about it, and then how, the whole process. I mean, I spent 2 whole days shadowing these people. And so I got game from school and I got game from the streets, and hopefully it's translated into what we're doing.
And that's awesome because when you got the schooling from the basics and the fundamentals and the foundation, then you go to the street vendors. They do it a little bit different because they put their own sazon in it and they put their own little twist on it. You get the best of both worlds at that point.
100%. And I wanted to really embody the true essence of why I loved al pastor since I was little.
And we're gonna go back and forth here, but I want to talk a little bit about how you're a huge reggae fan and you're a huge vinyl collector. You're such a huge fan that you named one of your kids Marley.
That's right. I won that battle.
So how did that come about with you? You just was always a selector and a fan, or?
I mean, a lot of Bob Marley's music really influenced just me as a person. And so I kind of wanted to indirectly plant that seed with my son so that sooner or later he could be curious about why I named him Marley. And, we're all human. Nobody's perfect. We've done all good and bad. But the overall message of Bob Marley is one of unity and equal rights and justice, and it's a peaceful approach. So, with leading by example as well as showing where I was inspired from music, that's why I named it Marley. And then with my daughter, I lost the Sade battle. So that's it.
All right, so now let's talk about you doing a healthy option for folks and using really nice ingredients. You've also done some crappy ideas, like the macaroni and cheese burrito.
Right, you're tripping. That shit was
Who
sexy.
does that?
Because why not? Because here's the thing, like the macaroni and cheese burrito, the Filipino burrito. I did a different.
You've done several.
I did like a
crazy
jerk chicken burrito, but to me, the formula is the same. It's like protein followed by a freshness, followed by a carb. So rice, chicken adobo, and tomatoes mimic how a burrito is built. And then if you balance the flavors, it's successful. It was kind of like a stretch for sure, but people were loving that. It was I actually made it with, rest in peace, Pam the Funkstress, and that got a following of its own, the Soul Rita. So I don't want to front like I know how to make fried chicken and stuff. I called upon our sister Pam, and she's a chef herself. She provided the mac and cheese, collard greens, a hint of yams, and the chicken. So you got freshness, the greens, the carb. So it It sounds funky, but it worked.
No, and you will get credit for me on doing some very creative burritos. Like you said, the jerk chicken burrito, the Mexipino burrito. The one that was the craziest to me though was that mac and cheese
That
burrito.
was
I was like, I lost my mind. Like, what's next? Fried chicken burrito? What's the deal here, bro?
I mean, why not? But we're having fun. I'm not gonna be the purveyor of these. It's just little specials. Having
No,
fun.
and then those are awesome. I mean, when you do these specials and you do these collabs and you team up with other chefs and do things like that, that is incredible. And also your generosity, because I see you doing a lot of stuff for the farm workers and just for kids and for less fortunate people in the community. Does that also come from your family, or is that just something that you do because it resonates with you?
I feel like it resonates with me because I came from a situation living in Mexico City, where we were cool, but my bus would go through all these neighborhoods to get to school. So, it'd be our neighborhood, cool. But then we'd drive through little towns where the houses were made out of metal and cardboard.
And clay?
Yeah, and so it's like, that hits you. But what hits you even harder is that the smiles from the kids' faces aren't gone. That the happiness from families being together, they're still there. People just adjust. But that tugs at my heart. I know that people are always gonna need more and stuff. So my philosophy is, if I'm gonna have a business and I'm gonna be in a community, I need to be part of that community and give back to that community, because that community is making me, So I'm blessed to have a business. It's not all about stacking hella money. It's about living fun and giving back. So that's my philosophy. And we've been doing that at Papalote. We've been doing that with Pastor Papi every chance I get. Now that I'm here at Union Square, we gave back already 100 burritos on opening day, 700 burritos with the ABT situation. So much so that in 6 months, we got a certificate of honor from City Hall just last week. So all that stuff's nice, but I don't do it for that. I just do it to give back to this community.
It's the right thing to do.
But it's cool to be recognized. Same with the farm workers. Like, and I shadow your leadership on this, because you've been super active as well, and you've mirrored and shown me that we've got. I mean, that's
we all we got.
phrase.
That's
And
what we live by.
It's for Latinos, but it's also for humans. We all we got, and the powers that be trying to separate us, but we got to be here on the ground doing the work. And so I thank you for your leadership on that. And we're just all trying to do what we can. I'm just a burrito guy. You're just a radio guy. But there's people like Hijas del Campo, the United Farm Workers, organizations that dedicate their life to helping the farm workers stuff. And we try to support as much as we can. So
Whenever and wherever, and we got United Players out there to do a lot of good work. We got City Eats. We got
we work with them. They're doing all that. So
definitely connect with us.
A lot of people.
Yeah. So and my man does stuff consistently. So you guys can always make donations to him directly, because he's feeding the farm workers. He's doing toy drives. He's doing a lot of different things where he feeds people here in Union Square. So if you want to make a donation to help keep the movement going, definitely connect on his Instagram and send your donations that way. You have an actual PayPal or something where they can hit you up?
I just on Instagram, when we find an action, then I create a GoFundMe.
Okay, there you go.
And please follow us for that.
What's the Instagram?
Instagram is Pastor Papi 415.
There you go, Pastor Papi 415. Connect with him. Do what you do. I love you. You're my brother forever. So we appreciate you taking time to talk to us. But before we go, mezcal or tequila?
Tequila all day. Tequila and Fortaleza, to be specific.
We'll leave it with that.